Hey guys, how is it going? All right. I'm actually on the road right now, recording on my laptop here, so I can move this thing out of the way. It's a little bit better. But just because I'm on the road doesn't mean I can't play some games of Magic and record some games that pop up. And I just had a couple of games against this Slug 360 guy. It's a guy I've played against a bunch of times in the past. Slug and I go way back. He's a pretty cool dude. Usually plays good decks as well, so I was pretty sure it was going to be a challenge. This is game two. Unfortunately, game one of the series, I tried to go back to look at the replay of it, and it did not cooperate. In fact, it crashed, I don't know, maybe like on turn 2 or turn 3. But he did wind up winning that game, although it was quite close and a pretty interesting matchup. No spoilers about what happens in this game, though, but it is a very, very awesome pitched battle. I'm running with, of course, Thrasios and Tymna, and he is using, oddly enough, Uril the Miststalker. And normally when you run against Uril, or Uril, it's probably Uril. Normally when people play Uril against you, they play some sort of Voltron-y enchantment-based deck. But that is not what Slug is playing. Slug is actually playing just a very standard good stuff, red, green, white, Naya thing. And it's not based around the general at all. I mean, obviously Uril is extremely good. He's a 5-mana hexproof 5/5, and if you do have some enchantments, he's also, if you have an enchantment sub-theme, you can pile him on him and make him even more gross. But I think he's just running him in as an enabler, and it's just a solid body. Kind of similar to the way that people would use Gave in a black-white-green deck. All right. Unfortunately, he's going first in this game, and I have a solid enough draw. It's got Stoneforge Mystic. It's a little slow. The deck doesn't have a ton of acceleration. I'm not running any of the green mana elves, mainly because I don't really have any use for double green. But I do have Avacyn's Pilgrim and Bird of Paradise and Bloom Tender, Draga Tree Speaker, obviously Noble Hierarch. I have a fair amount, and Chrome Mox and Mox Diamond as well. So I do have a fair amount of accelerators, but they've just been absent in the last 2 games. But I do have Stoneforge and, of course, Opposition, which is one of the key features of the deck, and this Tireless Tracker. I guess turn 1. And he leads with Birds of Paradise going first, which is just automatically puts him a turn and a half ahead of me, which is really going to be tough. Last game, he started with a turn 1 Llanowar Elf and had a Flame Tongue Kavu on turn 3 from my Dark Confidant, and it just went south from there. So I'm not happy about this. I'm really hoping to draw some acceleration myself, because those generals that I have are just not that good on the defense. Draw Vindicate, just not too good. My deck is really different from the other Tymna-based decks that have been doing really well in 1v1 Commander, which tend to be very heavy on 1 and 2 drops, specifically 1 drops, and are really almost playing kind of a quasi-Edric style. They have a lot of force spike creatures and force spike effects, and a lot of cheap guys that they intend to just back up with Tymna to draw extra cards. It's probably the most degenerate and unfair way to play the deck, although it's just not interesting at all. I goldfished that deck a fair amount and found it really boring to play. Very linear and not interesting. So this is sort of my take on the theme. And as soon as I play this Marsh Flats, and as soon as he plays a 3rd land, I just had this feeling in the back of my head like, man, I wonder if he has the stupid Aven Mind Sensor. I'm using it. It's very good. And when he says go, I'm just certain he has it. Like, I just know. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can really do. I got to just hope that maybe there's a black or white land in my top 4. So he sacks a Scalding Tarn. As soon as he sacks his Tarn, I know I've screwed up, and I really should have sacked that because it was the only fetch land I had. And I probably would have just lost this game on the spot. Were it not for Bayou in the top 4, how lucky. So there's Bayou right there. It's actually not a bad land, too, considering I've got 2 blue, green, and white. I mean, basically, I probably wouldn't have fetched that. I would have gotten Underground Sea, but this is still pretty damn good. And then I was so cavalier about just fetching a Bayou with no worries that I just slammed my Stoneforge Mystic because, you know, he's got even Mind Sensor in play. I have 3 pieces of equipment in my deck. And, yeah, I'm sure I'll get one in the top 3, right? Or top 4, naturally. Jitte, waiting in the top 4 for me. And that honestly is probably the piece of equipment I would have gotten too, because I don't think I need Sword of Fire and Ice, and I didn't really want Sword of Feast and Famine. I think Jitte is perfect because it deals with both these creatures, and of course it's waiting in the top 4. So I just made a horrendous mistake. Horrendous, honestly. I mean, obviously I just play Thrasios here and just kind of be sad, and I go to Vindicate the Aven Mind Sensor on the following turn. But the way it worked out, the fact there was a Jitte there just saved me all the trouble. Now I don't even care about that Aven Mind Sensor at all. He's got 4 mana. it's getting ugly. And Flame Tongue Kabu comes down and crushes the Stoneforge Mystic. So I'm facing a lot of pressure, and I have to deal with stupid commander probably next turn as well. I have nothing going on, and my commanders seem downright clunky by comparison because he's gotten a super fast, aggressive draw. So I'm really, really in a deep hole. But then I draw a Sower of Temptation, which is really interesting. So I was thinking about the different plays that I could do here. And I honestly, if I hadn't drawn Sower, I think my play would have just been simply to kill the Flame Tongue Kavu with Vindicate to stem the bleeding, or maybe just play the Tireless Tracker to try to trade with it and hope he did not have a 5th mana. Given the fact that I can't really interact with his general if that happens. But drawing the Sower is really interesting because it gives me an alternate game plan here. And that game plan is land destruction. I go after his lands because I figure if he doesn't have a land, or at least he doesn't have 2 mana, I can Sower his Birds of Paradise next turn. If he doesn't have a way to kill the Sower, then I deny him 2 mana. That keeps him off his commander, keeps him off multiple colors. And then I can throw the Jitte on the Sower and kill off the Aven Mind Sensor and potentially the Flame Tongue Kabu as well. And then maybe I can get opposition working. So that's the route I'm going to take. He sits there and he smashes me for 6. And then he plays his own Stoneforge Mystic. And he gets Sword of Fire and Ice, which is, it's almost like he just predicts that I've got Sower in my hand. The filthy bastard. He must have Jitte and sort of Feast and Famine in his deck too. They're just too obvious not to play with. So I'm a little baffled by that play. I mean, I guess maybe he just wants to draw cards, but I don't think that Sword of Fire and Ice is all that great of a card right now. But I have no choice here. My hand is certainly forced. I'm going to play the Sower. And I'm actually thinking ahead that as dangerous as the card is, because he only has 2 land, and if he missed a land drop there too, which means that my mana destruction plan is actually starting to pay off a little bit. And stealing the bird means he's down to 2 land, which means that he can make the sword at the end of my turn and then pay another 2 mana to equip it. But I'm going to have opposition and his Birds of Paradise at that point, and I can lock down whatever creature he tries to put the sword on and then start to go to work with the Jitte. So it's actually not the end of the world here. And he misses his land drop again, and of course he doesn't attack with the Aven Mind Sensor because he intends to lock off my searching, which I can totally understand. I'll take the 4 happily. Plus he really, I'm sure, wants a flyer to put the sword on, as it's much harder for me to block that. I just draw useless mana confluence here. All right, so with no better choice, I'm just going to play the opposition, play a tapped land since damage may really matter here. Sure enough, at end of turn, he puts his Sword of Fire and Ice out. And he draws a Wasteland. So he's got 3 mana, and he's got Qasali Pride Mage. So frustrating. Especially because he can destroy opposition at the end of the turn, and then just equip with impunity on whatever he wants to. So, of course, in response to that, I know what I'm doing already anyway. I'm just tapping those 2 guys. There may have been something to be said for not tapping in retrospect, he's already shown he doesn't want to attack with the Aven Mind Sensor into my guy. So I think this was actually a mistake. I think what I probably should have done was just let him declare his attack, and then at the end of he probably wouldn't attack with this. At the end of the turn, I tap the Wasteland. That would force him to Pride Mage the opposition, in which case I'd be able to untap, play the Jitte, and attack with it on the Sower. And then at that point, all of his creatures have 1 or 2 toughness. So if he invests 2 mana into trying to throw a sword onto them, then I can kill it in response with the Jitte. And he'd probably throw it on, my guess is he'd probably throw it on the Stoneforge Mystic. So I'd kill with the Jitte, and then he'd leave back Mind Sensor. I could attack with the 2/2, and he would block it, obviously with his Mind Sensor probably. Yeah, because he'd die. It would die anyway to tokens, and I could kill off the Flame Tongue Kavu, and I'd actually be in pretty good shape. So the long point of that story is that tapping his guy here to save myself 2 damage was a mistake. I should have actually tapped the Wasteland during his attack step and forced his hand with the Solid Pride Mage, which I didn't do. And I regretted it immediately. And now I draw Muddle the Mixture, and I'm punished even further for not having a way to deal with the Aven Mind Sensor. So I play my Jitte, which I should not have in my hand without getting insanely lucky with tutoring. And obviously I can't use Muddle the Mixture because chances of getting anything good and impactful in the top 4 cards are really too low. So fortunately, I've got something that really forces him to make a tough decision. The question is, does he kill off the opposition, or does he kill off the Jitte right now? And after thinking for a long while, he rightfully decides that Jitte is actually more dangerous. And I get this useless attack instead of tapping stuff, but that's okay. Because I have enough mana to play my cheap-ass commander, which combines extremely well with opposition. Alright, so now he equips. I'm going to tap this guy in response to that. And tap his other big guy. He didn't even attack there, I'm not sure why. But now I have a big problem because this thing is now pro-blue, which means I can't tap it with opposition. And I have a very, very limited amount of ways to interact with it. And if this sower gets out and starts hitting me for 4 a turn plus the bolt, I mean, I'm just going to be dead in 2 turns. So I am absolutely living on borrowed time here, and I still can't use the muddle due to the stupid Mind Sensor's ability. So I'm just going to play Tymna here and hope to draw a card that matters. Of course, I pay 1, I get a Verdant Catacombs, which doesn't matter, so I'm going to play that to thin, assuming and hoping that I can actually snag something with it. And the chances of, my deck has a lot of black and green sources in it, so odds are probably 25 to 30% that I'll hit something off Catacombs. And at least I have one more potential block with this thing before all hell breaks loose. So during his upkeep, of course, I'm going to tap the Savannah since I'm not going to be blocking anything with Tymna anyway, or with Thrasios. So he goes to his attack step. I'm going to tap down his Flametongue Kavu. And the Mind Sensor crashes in. I block. Because I have to. I'm going to sack that. Sure enough, in the top 4, once again, is Savannah. Incredibly lucky. I get to play that, which is fantastic. And then I decide, instead of tapping something like, say, his Horizon Canopy with the bird, I'm going to just use Thrasios right now, because there is a chance that I could hit something that costs 1 mana here. So I scry 1. There's an Underground Sea, which I obviously don't need. And the top card is Swords to Plowshares, which is so insane. Like, I got so lucky this game. It's really uncanny. I was able to search 3 times successfully with Aven Mind Sensor in play, and then I flip over a Swords to Plowshares, the absolutely perfect card against Mind Sensor, because that allows me to even keep my blocking bird. So crazy. So he gains 4, and now I can search with impunity. And he taps 2 mana and equips his Stoneforge Mystic, and plays a come into play tap land. So perfect. Okay, so first things first. I'm going to transmute here. And I actually probably should have attacked first with my guy, because there's a chance that I could just draw my intended target. So for 2 mana, a million different cards to choose from. But the one that is most prominent, of course, the Polar Bear. So he sees that. I get to attack with Sower. And I draw just another land, which is fine. So I'm going to play the Winter Orb and play a guy who taps for 4 mana underneath the Winter Orb. And he's completely tapped out except for... And the only problem is his pro-blue guy. But I've got at least multiple green things that I can block with. And chain casting Tymna would work as well. And I'd gain life the whole time. But my intention really is to just play Tireless Tracker next turn. And just take down the Stoneforge with that. Because I'll be able to sack a clue. So during his upkeep, of course, tap down his Savannah. Tap down Flametongue Kavu. He's going to attack me, and of course I block. And I'll tap down the Orb with the Dying Bird. And there's that crazy interaction right there. Opposition Winter Orb, so strong. Jace, beautiful. All right, play my Tireless Tracker. Play the Hinterland Harbor, which gives me a clue. So now I've got a potential 4/3 blocker against the 3/4 pro red and blue guy. I'm going to smash him for 4 and draw another card. I get Smuggler's Copter, which isn't going to matter, because I have a board full of creatures, opposition Winter Orb, and the ability to stop his one guy. And of course, and at one point, actually, the comment popped up, and I'm sorry I skipped through it, but Slug at one point, I think after I searched with the Verdant Catacombs and got Savannah, Slug asked me with true sincerity, hey, is Aven Mind Sensor bugged or something? Because I had successfully searched with it 3 times. Or with it out 3 times. And I assured him that no, I had just been getting insanely lucky. But during his upkeep, he realizes now that there's no way through this wall of stuff, and he packs it in. And he asked me for game 3, but unfortunately I had to go make a phone call, so I was not able to do that. But I hope we get a chance to rematch. It's definitely an interesting duel. I feel like I'm favored in the sense that I'm pretty sure I have at least as much acceleration as him, if not more. And he went first both times and had a one-drop mana creature, which made the game much harder. If I were to go first, or if I were to get a accelerator on my own part, I think that the match certainly favors me because my commanders are way stronger than Uril. But I don't know. We'll find out down the road. Hope you guys enjoyed that game, and hopefully I get some other good games while I am touring. See you guys later.